Live! It's the ultimate Cleveland Guardians show, but there's not much to get excited about. I have little energy for this team this morning, Zach, and I'm sure you don't as well. The Guardians have lost 6 in a row, 9 of 10. They haven't scored a run in 28 innings. What do you have to say for this team right now, Zach?
I think you have more energy than you realize.
You think so? We're going to find out?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to get you mad about.
There is plenty. It's all on the ultimate Cleveland Guardian show. All right, welcome everybody to the ultimate Cleveland Guardian show. This is our lowest number of viewers to start the show. But we're going to keep plugging away here. I don't blame people for not wanting to hear about the Guardians too much right now, because this team is absolute garbage. That hot streak of 4 weeks, whatever it was, is down the tubes. This team is just playing terrible. They're playing, they played the 10 game. They've sandwiched that good play between a 10-game losing streak and 9 out of 10. You can't be playing much worse baseball than they are now. They're fighting in the dugout. It's not good right now, Zach.
No, I mean, they've been outscored 24-0 in their last 3 games. That's bad football. That's bad base. It doesn't matter the sport. That score is not what you want. And, it's becoming more and more apparent just what this team is, because for a while you could say, oh, they're 22-8 in their last 30 games. And you could, if you wanted to, I guess you could ignore the 10-game losing streak that preceded that. But now, if you look at the totality, as you said, you were 0-10, then you were the hottest team in the American League for a month, and now you're 1-9. And so if you put all that together, you get about an average team. And what do you know? They're 64-66. And this is what it's looked like all year, right? Like they've straddled that 500 mark for much of the season. And so none of this is surprising. I mean, we've even when they were winning games, like you still had Gabriel Arias hitting 6th and Carlos Santana getting at bats, and you kind of knew what reality was, right? So the problems that were always the problems are still the problems, and it's just this has been, at least in the 10-game losing streak, and they were clinging to this for a while. There were some competitive losses, a lot of competitive losses in there. The series in Chicago, in Wrigley, like those were some hard-fought games for the most part. And, the series finale, the 10th straight loss when they lost to the Tigers and they blew it in the 9th, and then they gave up some runs in the 10th. And it was like, I think a lot of them were asking, like, what can we do? Like, we're trying, we're close here. This has just been pitiful. I mean, this has been an embarrassment. We can talk about the Bibee vote thing if you want to now. But to me, I was like, oh, hey, someone's finally showing some passion.
Yeah.
And some energy.
So what happened? I mean, listen, Bibee's had a miserable season.
Yeah. And let me say, like, he'll be the first to admit that too.
Yes.
He admitted it last night.
So the ERA up close to 5 now. He's probably, I would say he's been the biggest, obviously Class A, but from a just performance on the field standpoint, he's the biggest disappointment of the season. I think, I don't even know if it's close. Who else would you put in that conversation?
I mean, there's a lot of competition. I don't.
Well, but
in terms of expectations versus
right.
But because there were a lot of guys who you hoped, a young guy developing or taking a step forward. Or the fact we never saw Chase DeLauder or Juan Brito or, but I mean, I that's probably right. It's getting tougher and tougher though. You look at like I'm staring at the stats right now, and it's we have to remove Quan, I think, from the conversation of like, you have X number of hitters who are going well or who you trust, or like Quan's down to a 709 OPS. He's below league average now.
That's it. I mean, it's remarkable.
So while I agree, I would agree with you. Bobby's been the biggest disappointment. It's like there aren't very many people who have exceeded expectations. I mean, honestly, it's like Jose's probably met them, and Gavin Williams has probably met them, and that's it. Manzardo's met them.
I'd say Manzardo's met them. Yeah.
Has anyone exceeded?
I would say maybe Gavin Williams a
Zabrowski?
little. Oh, what was that?
Zabrowski? I mean, you have to like dig deep here.
No, Daniel Schneemann, maybe.
I guess.
You know,
86 OPS.
I expected him to be. I mean, I'm grasping for straws, Zach.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
You know, I mean, to say who's. I might have said Logan Allen before his last start. There's really nobody. There's been plenty of guys that have disappointed, but Bibee with a 4.73 ERA. I mean, I did not see that coming. And so what happened? Just the frustration boiled over. But the interaction between him and Vogt, I'm glad he was fired up, but that's not good.
I'm glad it was caught on the podcast because I think a big problem that Vogt had with the whole decision. So Bibee, so first of all, they had a really sloppy inning.
Yeah.
And this has been another theme during these rough stretches where they just kick the ball around. They don't have margin for error, right?
Yeah.
And you can't be playing sloppy. And so it was weird that I guess the scoreboard had the wrong count during an at-bat when Junior Caminero was on first base. And so the scoreboard had it at 3-2, but the count was actually 2-2. And from the beginning of the at-bat, the umpire was telling the batter and Bo Naylor, like, ignore the scoreboard. This is what the count actually is. So Bo Naylor knew the count, and I think Tanner Bibee knew the count. Nobody else did. So nobody on the Rays, nobody on the Guardians. So you get to 2-2, the scoreboard showing 3-2. It's a ball, and Caminero like waltzes to second base. Bo popped up to make a throw, but nobody was moving. Everybody thought it was ball 4. So Caminero, quote unquote, steals second. So that's the start of it. And I don't think Bibee knew in that moment what had happened. He's not looking at the scoreboard for the count. He's the guy with the ball in his hand. So there's that. So Caminero gets the second, and we need to talk about Caminero here eventually too.
Yeah.
And then there's another walk, or there's a walk where the ball bounces and kind of skips away, and it's ball 4. And because it skips away, Caminero runs to third. Bo picks it up, fires a throw to third. He's trying to like lead Jose Ramirez to the bag to apply the tag, and it just, I don't know if the throw was just too low or a little too early, but it trickles to left field. Caminero scores. And it's just the perfect example of like the Rays scored on a single and a walk in that order. Like try to do that math, right? So Bibee comes into the dugout after the inning, and the cameras kind of catch him yelling something along the lines of "wake the something up," in not that many words. And you can see it in his face, like he's fired up, he's not happy. And it's interesting to watch the reactions in the dugout. Like Bo Naylor kind of shoots him a glance. Jose looks up from the bench, like what? But Vogt stormed after him. Yeah. And Bibee like gets down. I think he like put down his glove or whatever on the bench. And then Bibee starts walking the other way, and Vogt's then following him the other way. And it's almost like Vogt was like, don't walk away from me right now. Like I'm talking to you.
Yeah, he was pissed.
Yeah. So it was pretty clear to see Bibee was unhappy with what happened on the field and frustrated, one, with the team's performance recently and just where they're at. And two, and I got him to admit this after the game, like that's also his season boiling over in frustration too. He was like, yeah, it's been really rough, and it's almost September. Like basically there's no excuse anymore. So the way they spun it was Vogt told him, this is not the time nor the place for this. Basically, if you want to do this, do it in the clubhouse after a game or before a game, or he said, take it downstairs. And they hashed things out after the game. And then Bibee, both people said all the right things. Bibee said, he was right. That wasn't the right moment for that. Which I kind of understand, because based on the timing, it's almost like you're just yelling at your catcher. Like, but
that
had some merit to it.
I
don't know. I think it's the first example of a team showing emotion or energy or frustration. Like they're always so, oh, well, you know, we need to just show up to the ballpark and work
Right.
hard and do the same thing and not worry about yesterday or tomorrow. And I don't know, it was almost like a nice change of pace.
Yeah, the whole thing, you don't want to show up your teammates when you're performing badly.
Yeah,
And maybe he was yelling at himself on some level too when he says, it was a season of frustration boiling over. When you're having a bad season, I just think it's bad to be like yelling about your teammates having a bad season.
yeah.
And like who knows what he was saying exactly? Like if you're in the dugout and you're like, man, I suck and we suck. And I think if you're throwing yourself under the bus with the rest of the team, it's fine. If it's just about the rest of the team, I'd be pissed if I was a teammate. Because I'm like, yeah, we're all pissed. We're all playing like crap. I mean, but you're right. I like the fact that he cares, right? Like he signed this big extension. I'm not that it's crazy big. It was a Guardian special, but
He was the opening day starter,
right,
so he was supposed to be. So
right. But
he hasn't lived up to that.
Some players would be like, I got my money. Who cares? And he's not, and obviously that's not the case, and that's good to see.
So I think along those lines, and Vogt said like he's among the most competitive, fiery players I've ever been around. I think that's, I mean, you can see it. Like this guy wanted the ball on short rest against the Yankees in the ALCS last year. He hates anytime the manager is coming to take the ball because there's a bulldog mentality there. And I think, it was interesting as we're talking to him last night, he's clearly fighting back tears. He's clearly emotional.
Yeah.
And like his eyes are watery. And those of us who were covering the game were having a discussion after the game. Like, is it important to mention that he was maybe fighting back tears or was emotional? And we all agreed, like, if we point that out now, it's dismissing the fact that every time they lose and he pitches, he's like that. So
right,
it just shows you, like, I think it comes from a good place.
Yeah.
The guy cares, he's passionate, and he's frustrated, man.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like, this is all around, and I feel like we have become a broken record at this point. There is so much blame you can dole out. You don't have to pick a person or a part of the roster or a part of the organization. It's everybody all throughout, and I think that's palpable now.
Yeah, I said I think it was a month ago when the Class A thing finally put me over the top that it was time to clean house in this organization. And a month later, I feel the same way. I mean, where are they as an organization? I feel like they're in a worse spot since Terry Francona took over. I don't think they've been in this bad a spot. I know there are some things if you're trying to be positive and you want to, not be in the moment. There are things you can point to and say, hey, we have Jose. Manzardo had a nice first full season. Kafis has looked promising in his first couple of weeks in the big leagues. And we got DeLauder and Bazana and a couple others coming. On the other hand, we've heard about guys coming for a long time, and most of them have not panned out. There's holes all over the lineup. The bullpen regressed big time this year. We don't know the future of Clase or Ortiz. You traded Junior Caminero, which is starting to look like an all-time bad trade. I mean, you got Tobias Myers, a journeyman for him. Caminero is going to hit 40-something home runs this year, knocking 100 runs for a bad team. The guy, he doesn't even strike out a crazy amount for a slugger. Like he's gonna have 120.
He just turned 22.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Imagine how good he'll be in a couple of years.
Oh my God, this guy might be, an MVP candidate in the next couple.
By the way, he was not the Rays' first ask. When the Guardians wanted Tobias Myers, the Rays said, "Hey, can we have this guy?"
Yeah.
The Guardians said no. They said, "Hey, how about this guy?" Guardians said no. And on the third try, they asked for Junior Caminero.
Do you know who the other two were?
I don't.
I can't imagine they're better than him.
Can't, unless it was like Jose Ramirez and Cade Smith or something. Yeah.
Oh my God, what a disaster! So it's hard to have any hope. I mean, I think I've said for a month it's time to clean house, especially in the front office. That doesn't mean they're terrible at their job because we know they're not. but sometimes you need a fresh coat of paint. Sometimes you need a new voice, new leadership. I know it's not going to happen, or I think it's unlikely to happen. I think it is absolutely time to change the leadership of this franchise.
Yeah, this is. I think this is a deeper discussion than maybe we can have on August 26th, and
Yeah,
it's certainly something to discuss in length when the season ends.
yep,
But I think you have to start at the top. And if I'm an owner, I want to know what went wrong and why did it go wrong, and is it fixable? Because I'm going to imagine that after 25, 26 years of ownership, that the Dolans aren't going to just randomly start completely changing the way they operate
sure.
this winter, right?
Yep.
So if that's the case, then why did this season go the way it went and last season went the way last season went?
Yeah.
What is the difference? What was missing? What did they do well last year that they didn't do well this year? And whose fault is it? And if I'm looking through this and I'm, analyzing this, first of all, we never hear from the owner. So we don't know, but you will hear from the owner today. And we can get to that. We can get to that in a minute. You will. I'm pretty sure. I think there are some things that went wrong this year that just happened. Right? Chase DeLauder had an injury-riddled season, and they were hoping he'd be part of the solution in the outfield. Juan Brito was, he was in competition for second base in spring training. He was going to be a part of this, and just injury-riddled season. That happens. The Nolan Jones trade completely flopped, but I think you and I both said, like, hey, that was a gamble worth taking, and
Yeah,
that happens.
yes,
The gambling stuff,
yeah,
I can't pin that blame on the front office, right? So there are some things that were out of their control, but if you look at like the thing that is the problem and has been the problem, and anytime they have a disappointing season, it has been the problem, is the hitting development. And they did have a chance to address that over the offseason when their hitting coach left. And they didn't do that. They hired from within. They didn't get any outside voices to, you could have plucked somebody from Tampa or the Dodgers or the Brewers, or somebody else and put them in charge of. And I'm not even saying that this is all on Grant Fink, who's a first year, I think he's like 34 years old, hitting coach, because it's not like things were awesome before him.
right. Mm-hmm.
But you've had chances to just reshape how you do this and get some external voices in here, and they haven't done it. And I think you're right. It's like nobody is ever fearful that they're going to lose their job.
Nope.
There's no sense of urgency. And I think while there's a lot of good things about having a stable culture, and that is the goal.
Yes.
In sports. And it's a reason why they lose people in their front office and coaching staffs to other teams year after year. But you have to find a happy medium here. There has to be a level of accountability, and there never is. And so if I'm ownership and I'm evaluating the season, like, could this have been avoided? Did it have to go this way? First of all, like, a lot of these questions can be asked inward, and like there can be some blame there, right?
Sure.
I mean, they are never flexible, even when they're in a window to contend. And you were 3 wins away from the World Series, and look at where we're sitting 9 months later. It's insane. So I just, top down, like, I just don't, like, this shouldn't be acceptable. And you can't get to the end of the season and make excuses for what happened. And so I'm already, curious to know what we're going to hear just from leaders in the organization to explain how things got to this point. But the frustrating thing is you're not going to hear anything from the owner, who maybe sits down for a puff piece once every few years, and that's all we hear from him, except on Cleveland Guardians Charity Giveathon Day, which just so happens to be today, Bull. And that means they're going to go wall to wall trying to raise as much money as they can. And they've been doing this for a handful of years now. And every year on this day, they typically put Paul Dolan on the broadcast for an inning. And so the team, in the current state it's in right now, and having not scored a run since like 1983, is going to be asking everybody to donate. And I'm never going to tell you not to donate to charity. Charity is great. But what a time to have this day and to put the owner out there to not talk about what's actually going on.
And he's not going to talk with you, right?
Of course not.
I mean, put him on the broadcast, that's a waste of time. There's no tough questions. They'll be, glad handing and all that nonsense. There's no accountability whatsoever. What a joke that the owner never speaks. It's so frustrating. This, you know what? Yeah, I mean, having a charity day is great. I don't want to rip him for that, but he's such an ass. I'm so frustrated. I'm getting angry. I'm not sure exactly why I'm angry about this, because doing charity is a good thing. I mean, I don't know what's the charity. Do we even know?
Well, it's just Cleveland Guardians charities.
Yeah, that's kind of, you know what? I'd want to know exactly where this money's going.
I'm sure.
Are we sure it's not going to Matt Dolan's political campaigns? I mean,
I don't know. But they have their golf outing on Thursday, and a ton of alumni come back for it and play. And
well, maybe I can go see Paul Sorrento. I mean, this is, and
he was a hitting coach.
Bob DiBiasio tell us about this. Andre Thornton. I'm so sick of this nonsense. First of all, the Guardians as an organization have this real smarmy attitude that they're smart. You're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. And we know what we're doing. If it doesn't work, it just didn't work. But it's not because we get anything wrong. There is zero accountability. The owner's a clown. I do have a lot of respect for Chris Antonetti and Mike Chernoff, but enough's enough already. And I get it. There's times where it's like, well, am I going too far? I mean, they just won a lot of games last year, but then the year before they won 76, and they've won what? 2 playoff series since the World Series, something like that.
Yeah, there's just never a plan. It feels like it's just hopefully we catch you catch lightning in a bottle, and
right.
And again, like the years that they've been good, they didn't think they were going to be that good. Like,
right.
I don't want to say it was a happy accident to get to the ALCS, because they were in first place the entire season, and it was really impressive. I don't want to take anything away from last season, and people will say now, like, oh, well, clearly it was a fluke, and it's like, nah, the 2022 may have been a fluke because they got hot in September and rode that to the ALDS, but last season they went wire to wire, and it was really impressive, the fortitude they showed, and they hung with the Yankees. They tried, but they clearly needed more, and they didn't get more. They subtracted. They are worse. Everybody going into the season looked at that lineup and said, okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
Can you pull off some more magic, I guess? This just doesn't feel like it's better or even as good. And lo and behold, it stinks. And it stunk all season, even when they were winning games for 1 month. The offense, it's not like they were some juggernaut who had these larger than life names. It was just they were getting some timely hits from Brian Rocchio and Daniel Schneemann, and Angel Martinez got to bat right-handed more. Like it's bad. It's been bad, and it didn't have to be bad. That's the problem, and that's why it starts at the top. It is, we can blame the front office for the money that they did spend. Was spent poorly, right? Carlos Santana has been a failure. Paul Sewald was a failure. Jacob Junis weirdly has a 2.96 ERA.
He is the best ERA of anybody.
That's I didn't realize that. That's weird.
And wasting money on hedges every year.
Yeah,
I know it's not a lot, but when you have a small payroll, he is the worst player in baseball.
But you can't just blame the front office, because you have to, if they're shopping in the bargain,
I blame them all.
That's why we come back to this, where it's like, you can blame Bibee, you can blame Kwan, you can blame Clase and Ortiz, you can blame the front office, you can blame ownership, you can blame you can blame everybody. There's not a limited amount of blame to dole out. And you're right. It's like, they're 64 and 66, and sometimes you just have a rotten season, and it's not like they're going to lose 100 games, but I think that's the problem, is they're never going to lose 100 games. They're never going to do a teardown and be the
Right.
Rockies or the White Sox, and we're going to sit here talking about 19-year-olds in A-ball who might be good in 4 years. They're trying to win every year. That's why this is a failure, is because they did it last year. They got that close, and there's no sense of urgency that they care to get over the hump like I think everybody listening to this show wants them to.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and there never is, and there never was, and it's so frustrating. And fans, and the fans have supported this team pretty well. Like we had over 2 million in attendance last year. The attendance has been, obviously now it's going to fall apart, but like the attendance has been pretty good this year. Fans want to believe. Fans want to be all in on this team, but it's so hard to do when you all your stars are going to leave, or at least most of them, unless they take a significant discount, or in Jose Ramirez's case, an all-time discount. And they're just it's hard for the fans to put their heart and soul into a team when it feels like the owner doesn't give a crap.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
doesn't.
you've
The
got.
owner does not care about winning. He doesn't. He does not care.
I think he does. I think he cares about. He's a Clevelander, so like I think he cares about winning, but it's not at the expense. Like there's no. It's an extreme. I had someone tell me even this summer, like we've probably become too risk averse, and I think that's the issue. It's just organizationally they're terrified of taking risk. I actually talked to an owner of another team who told me this summer, you can't win championships or build anything sustainable if you don't take risks. Like I think everybody has gotten so afraid of making, it's almost could almost tie this into a Deshaun Watson conversation where it's like they took a huge swing, and the off the field stuff aside, which obviously is part of that, they took a big risk. That was a gamble. It didn't pay off. And a lot of times that costs you jobs in sports. It hasn't here because they don't fire people. So why would you ever take huge risks when you know that you're going to work for the Guardians for 40 years and then get a nice cake on your last day and go into retirement when you're 65?
Zach, I'll tell you, I know it's easy for me to say because I don't, but if I had the money to own a baseball team, I would spend every dollar I could to win. I would do every single thing I could to win. And again, it's easy for me to say because I don't live in that world. And maybe if I did, I wouldn't do it. I can't. I will admit that I can't say for sure. But I think that I and most fans out there, if we had the ability to own the Cleveland Guardians, would spend whatever it took and do whatever and we never know exactly how much they could spend, but there's no way that anybody can convince me that they don't have the ability to spend more than they have.
Yeah.
And thus, I'm not saying he doesn't care. I'm not saying he doesn't care at all about winning, but it's not enough of a priority.
Yeah. It's the lack of when you got to take your shot when you get close. You don't know that you're, in 2016, they get to game 7. It's like, that wasn't the best roster that they had in that era, but that was as close as they got. Right. And you don't know that you're going to be back. So I give them so much credit for signing Edwin Encarnacion, and it was getting out of their comfort zone to do that.
Yeah.
And they choked against the Yankees the next year. And it was like they got terrified. And they moved off of Encarnacion's contract a year after that. And they started pulling back, and they haven't stopped pulling back. And it's been a different excuse every year, whether it's TV, the pandemic, and some of that, like I'm sympathetic to. But at some point, when you've owned the team and you've got a legacy at stake, and no one is forcing you to own a team. That's what I always come back to is if it was such a chore and such a, if you were hemorrhaging money year after year after year, then you probably wouldn't own the team, would you?
That's right.
No, John Sherman was here as a minority owner, saw the book, saw how things worked, and he was like, I need to get in on this. Let me go buy my hometown Royals.
Yeah.
And he spent money there. And like they've turned things around the last 2 years. So I don't know. It seems like it's not too bad of a gig if you can get one. There's only 30 people
100%.
who are fortunate enough to do it, and I think they all make out pretty well if you
Oh,
see
yeah.
team valuations.
All right, let's hear what the fans have to say before we wrap up. But first, let's talk a little FanDuel on this Tuesday morning. Zach.
Yeah, football season's here, Bill. I'm excited.
It is.
And the summer sports are still in full swing, whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high stakes soccer. And FanDuel's the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action, so why not make it a little more thrilling? And with FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach, or I don't know, what are we raking leaves soon? Or it's
Yeah.
getting chilly. You've got we're 9 days from NFL kickoff here. You've got college football, Ohio State, Texas on Saturday at noon, which has a lot of people mad. I know. There's a lot. There's a lot you can look through and place bets on. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Just open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to get started.
All right, Zach. Good job out of you. Let's see what the fans have to say here. I'm sure they're as frustrated as we are, if not more. B. Skrills, Tanner is trash. Gavin is hit or miss. I mean, that's not fair to Gavin. He's been one of the few guys that's had a really good season. I wouldn't call it. I mean, yeah, there were certainly inconsistencies, but for the most part, in the second half especially, he's pitched very well. He's got a 3.36 ERA, by far the best on the team. He's not been perfect, certainly, but he's one of the few guys I can't blame for this debacle this season. B. Skrills says they look like they're mentally checked out. Got shut out 3 times in a row is brutal. Chris says Bibee needs to grow a pair and look in the mirror, get mad at himself. He's giving up runs like crazy. Jay says when the guards are bad, their biggest enemy is apathy. That ballpark was scary empty. Kay says morning, Adam and Zach. Morning, Kay. Skrill says I would move on from Tanner and even Quan and get rid of Austin Hedges and Carlos. Well, Carlos is definitely going to be gone at the end of this year. Hedges should be gone, but I don't know, maybe he's got pictures of the owner. I don't know I don't know how that guy gets paid every year. I don't want to hear about his defense.
What about his pitching?
Yeah,
Another solid inning last night.
The guy is the worst. I've never seen a worse hitter that stayed in the big leagues as long as him. And nothing against him personally. I know he's a great guy, but it's just ridiculous. Diesel, if you do what you've always done, you get what you always receive. This team has systematic flaws in the front office that manifest in penny pinching and no offensive development. Time for a change. I'm a diehard Cleveland sports fan, but I won't spend $1 on watching the guards or buying merch until they change this. They don't spend, I don't spend. I don't blame. I agree with that attitude.
Yeah, I feel like we need to give the caveat here that we always give, which is no one's asking them to spend $200 million on the payroll. No one's asking, we're not saying that you were signing one mid-range left field or right fielder from winning the World Series this year either. Yeah. It's just having an open mind. It's just being flexible. It's being aggressive and opportunistic. And they were one time.
Yes.
Once.
Yes.
And they just you're off. What was the highlight of the off season? What's been give me the highlight of the last 9 months? What was it? Was it signing Santana to replace Naylor? Was it getting off of Jimenez's contract? Like if you're raising a banner at the end of the season, is it we saved money on Andres Jimenez? Was it we unloaded Straw's contract? What was it? We canceled Guards Fest and blamed it on the fans. What's the highlight of?
We traded away Josh Naylor.
Yeah, it was like 20 something stolen bases.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't been excited about an offseason move since Encarnacion, as you referenced before. I mean, that's 8 years ago at this point.
I mean, they're going to go out with a whimper here.
Yeah.
And then that's going to be another cold, quiet offseason. And then who's getting pumped and amped for next year? And let me say, they could be a playoff team next year. They absolutely could. But who's buying in right away? And I think everyone's going to be in wait and see mode where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, like if you're in contention in July, I'll get tickets to a game.
Yep. I don't blame you. I don't blame people. Buckeye guy, crowd was nowhere to be seen. Dolan should be held accountable for this miserable team. Shut out 3 games in a row. 3 games in a row. That's crazy.
Do you know who started for the Rays last night?
What was the
I mean,
start?
it's not like they're they didn't get shut out by Shane McClanahan or
I
Tyler
can't
Glasnow.
remember who pitched.
What was his first career start? A guy named
Seymour.
Ian Seymour.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. Big J-Bone, I know people blame the Dolans, but these players should be embarrassed of themselves. As we said, J-Bone, that you can blame the owner and blame the players. Yes, most of the players have played like crap this year. Nobody's giving them a pass. Rob says, name one thing this team does well that gives it a chance to consistently win. Yeah, that's the thing. Like the things they've always done well, like base running and defense and the bullpen, they've all gone to hell. I mean,
what are they good at?
Nothing. They're not good on defense. They're not good at base running. They certainly have no power. Their pitching's mediocre. Speaking of which, by the way, we should be hearing something any day now about Ortiz and Clase because they're suspended through the end of the month. So a decision's got to be made here.
The decision could also be to
extend it another month.
Yeah.
Or extend it through the end of the season because that would be another month. Let's see.
I do want to say, like,
yeah,
for anyone holding out hope that those guys are going to walk into the clubhouse on September 1st and put on a jersey and pitch, no.
Right. All right, let me give a couple more here.
How's your little league team doing? We need can we get some 30 seconds of positivity in here?
So we're 4-1. Technically, it's not little league; it's fall ball.
Sorry.
We played it. We had a doubleheader this past Sunday. We won the first game, and then we took our first loss of the season. In the second game, I was proud of the team that beat us because we were the only undefeated team. They were one of 2 winless teams, and they built I have 3 top pitchers, and I didn't use any of them for that second game. I wanted to see some other kids pitch, and they built up a huge lead on us. They were up like 12-2, I think, and we came storming back the last 2 innings. We had the tying run on deck, and they held us off. So that was a good job out of them. But I got to see some kids play some different positions. And
I've always said, I don't think momentum in baseball is a real thing because you just need a good pitcher to come get a couple outs. But I do think it's real in Little League and with that age group because you start blowing a big lead and you're that young and you feel the pressure.
Oh yeah, they did hold on though. Good job by them. They needed that win. It was good for those kids. And I know I know a lot of the kids on the other teams too at this point because I've coached so many of these kids at this point. But it's a good group of boys. It's a really good league. It's a very competitive. It's 11 and 12-year-olds. Some kids are 13 now at this point, but it's a very competitive league because it started as a Rocky River League, but we invited kids from other towns and. Now a lot of kids from Westlake and Bay Village and Lakewood and Fairview, and then a sprinkling of kids from other towns as well. But it's so for kids baseball, it's good, and the kids are into it. And anyway, so 4-1, we're tied for first with 3 games to go in the regular season. I want to get that 1 seed because then we get a bye in the first round of the playoffs. So the team we're tied with, we have the tiebreaker because we beat them. So there you go. That's the update. Much happier than what's going on with the Guardians. Buckeye guy says, see if Jake Crawford can pitch. I mean, he can. By the way, I picked up Travis Bazzana yesterday on my fantasy team. Will we see him before the end of the season?
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing George Valera or something. They need to, you can call up a hitter in 6 days. I wouldn't mind seeing fresh blood. Not, I've seen enough of Will Wilson.
I know.
To last a lifetime.
Or they'll probably just call it John Kenzie. on September 1st. All right, folks. Thanks for joining us today. Dustin and I will be doing a live podcast in 17 minutes. I'll also be on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show today. And then I'm headed out of town for 36 hours. I'm flying into New York. I'm surprising my mom. My mom's having, I haven't talked about this publicly at all, but I'll say it now. My mom's been being treated for cancer. She's been going for radiation treatments for the last 6 weeks, and tomorrow's her last treatment. So I'm flying in tonight, and I'll be there with her tomorrow for her last treatment. So, but then I'll be back by Thursday, or by late tomorrow night. Anyway, so that's the story.
We're all thinking of Mama Bowl.
Thank you.
And we're also thinking about the UCSS fantasy football draft coming up.
Yeah. You know when the draft is, right? Well, you were in that text, aren't you?
I do. You guys picked the worst possible time for me, but I'll make it work and I'll win like I always do. And
why is that bad?
Fine.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I'll probably have to do it on my phone in the clubhouse at Fenway Park, but maybe I can get like
some help from.
I'm trying to think of who the best fantasy football player is on the roster.
Do they have a league?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like so what happens? Like there's 26 guys on a team. Like who gets left out?
But like half
the guys don't care.
Half the guys don't care. I mean, and I will say too, once you get a group, those bonds, like it's hard to break in.
Yeah.
Because I know like it's like Hafner, Chris Jimenez, Grady Sizemore, Ben Francisco, like those guys from 15 years ago. They still have a league, and it's cutthroat.
Remember that incident with like Tommy Pham a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
Fight over fantasy football.
Was that Jock Peterson?
I think it might have been.
Yeah. But like I know like Hedges and Bieber have been co-owners of a team the last few years, and I'm pretty sure that they're terrible at it. But they get nuts. Like they would always be scouting like fourth string running backs during training camp. And
do any of the non-American players play? Because I'm thinking like if you grow up in Latin America in general, football's not big there like it is here. I don't know, but maybe you live in America a while and you get into it. I don't know.
Was it Juan Uribe who like went on a tirade once about how much he hates football?
Oh, I don't even remember that. No.
If you're listening, go. I don't want to get it wrong, so go look that up. It was before he got to Cleveland, but
okay.
Yeah, I can't think of any off the top of my head. No, it's usually the American players, but it gets intense. I know, like a lot of times they try to schedule it on an off day, like when they're flying into a city. At night, and they'll do something. Torey Lovello actually set the Diamondbacks guys draft order last week during BP. Like he took BP, and it was like based on whatever he did at the plate, that's who drafted where. So they get creative with it. This time of year, you need that to like give you a lift during the dog days.
Maybe we should do that. Use Guardians players, whoever gets the most hits in like a week. Well, we're running out of time. We got to pick the draft order, but anyway. All right. Thanks everybody for joining us today. In September, we're going to keep doing this show, slogging through the rest of the season, looking for bright spots, looking for rookie performances.
Do people want us twice a week like we did down the stretch last year? Let us know.
I don't think so. We'll be on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. going forward for the month of September. Wednesdays at 9 a.m. we will be live. Until then, we'll talk to you next time. Where else but right here on the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show. See you, everybody.